What's happening, everybody? Bob Wankel, CrossingBroad.com. We have number 2 Alabama hosting number 1 in the AP Top 25 poll, the LSU Tigers in Tuscaloosa this weekend. It is the college football game of the year, at least until this point, and you can bet on it with DraftKings Sportsbook anywhere that you can bet online in the United States, New Jersey, Indiana, West Virginia, and now in Pennsylvania. If you head over to crossingbroad.com/DK, download DraftKings Sportsbook, they will match your first bet up to $200.
You can make it rain.
All right, Saturday afternoon, 3:30 kickoff. It's number 1 versus number 2, LSU, Alabama, one of college football's best rivalries. Which team is going to win the game? Which team is going to cover the spread? Let's get into it. Take a look here at the current odds as of midweek. LSU a 6.5-point underdog, plus 190 on the money line. Total is up 64, pushing 65 at some sports books as we speak. These are not your big brothers, LSU and Alabama teams. LSU comes into this game having lost 8 straight in this head-to-head matchup. The last time they won, the 2011 season, the final score in that game, 9-6 LSU. I think we're in store for a much different type of football game this time around. So here we are. We talk about LSU's struggles in this head-to-head matchup. Of course, as I just said, they've lost 8 in a row. They've also lost their last 4 games in this series, and 6 of the last 8 by double digits. So Alabama has just completely owned LSU in recent seasons. Ed Orgeron has had a ton of trouble with Alabama and Nick Saban. He's 0-6 against Alabama. Lifetime, 3 of those losses came when he was with Mississippi. And then he's also 0-4 against Saban head-to-head. And LSU has only scored a combined 10 points in their last 3 meetings with Alabama, but this is a completely different offense led now by Joe Burrow. He's very much in the Heisman consideration. He's a Heisman frontrunner at this point. 30 touchdown passes already. LSU has gotten out of the 1960s, 1970s, and they moved into the present day. They can chuck it. They can go up and get it. An electric offense, a top 5 offense in the nation so far for the Tigers. So this could be a really high-scoring game between 2 explosive teams. Now, I like LSU in this game. I'll just cut to the chase. There's a few different reasons why. Number 1, they're battle-tested. LSU has 3 wins already over top 10 teams. Alabama has only 1 win over a top 25 team. No games yet played against top 10 opponents. Doesn't mean that Alabama doesn't have the horses to do it. They absolutely do. But I just like the fact that LSU has had some high-profile games against elite competition, and they've held their own to this point. Now, there is also some trends here that support a play, at least in terms of covering the spread for LSU. When you look here, all dogs are 19-11-2 ATS in games between 2 top 5 teams, and they are 10-4-1 ATS when the game is played between SEC teams. So in this particular conference, you get 2 top 5 teams head-to-head. The underdogs tend to shine. That's important to know. You look here, too, the visitor in this matchup, LSU on the road here going to Tuscaloosa. They're 14-8-1 ATS in regular season games between 2 top 5 teams, and the road dogs are also 10-4 ATS. So the visitors do well overall, especially when they are the underdog in the matchup. And I like this too. Small sample here, but we've seen it 2 previous times dating back to the 05 season. 2 times that the number 2 team, which in this case is Alabama, hosted the number 1. Number 1 covered and won LSU, like we talked about 8 years ago, head-to-head over Alabama. And also Ohio State beat Texas back during the 2006 season. So we've only seen it twice over the last 15 years, but in both cases, number 1 got the job done. The number 2 ranked teams are also 1-5 ATS at home when favored by 7 points or less, so that does not bode well for Alabama in this game. And also, one other note on why I kind of like LSU in this one. Since the 2005 season, Alabama not often favored by less than a touchdown at home, but when they are, they haven't been very good. They're 1-4-1 ATS when a home favorite of 7 points or less. Now listen, Nick Saban is a legendary football coach. Alabama has been the powerhouse of college football going back over the last decade plus. there's not a real struggle to find a lot of information, a lot of data that supports a play on Alabama in this game. So let's jump into why taking the Crimson Tide against the spread does make a lot of sense. Since the start of the college football playoff, the current format dating back to the 2014 season, Alabama is 39-1 straight up as a home favorite. However, they are only 18-22 against the spread. So they've been nearly invincible straight up, but they have not been great at covering the number. Home teams, favored by 6.5 points or less, are 9-4 ATS in games played between two undefeated teams after the month of September. So interesting note there. You get shorter favorites at home against two undefeated teams later in the season. Those favorites have tended to cover, which does support a play here or a wager here on Alabama. And finally, the Crimson Tide are 15-8-1 ATS after a bye week under Saban, and that goes back to the 2007 season. So you're giving one of the game's best coaches an extra week of preparation, and it's not all that surprising that his teams tend to cover in that spot. Now, a quick note here on the over-under. I don't love the total in this game. You have two teams with elite offenses this season. I suspect we're going to see a ton of offense, but 64 points with the defensive talent that will be on the field is a ton. I'll be honest with you, I don't love every play, and I don't love the total in this game. But two things that are worth considering here. The under is 9-5 in the last 14 meetings between these two teams, and 4-3 in the last 7 games played in Tuscaloosa, so it has trended under. This may finally be the year where that reverses a little bit. And when two SEC teams are ranked in the top 10 and the total set at least 60 points, the over is 3-0-2. No game has ever been set at more than 63 points between two top 10 SEC teams. And so if this number sticks at 64 or creeps back up to 65, we're looking at a historic total. So if I had to make a pick, and I mean, hell, this is a betting video, I will tell you I would lean towards the over. I don't have a ton of confidence in it, though. In terms of the side, I like LSU to cover the spread. 6.5 points is a lot. I love what LSU has done on offense. I believe that this is their time after being embarrassed in recent seasons by Alabama. I think that LSU can win the game outright. I'm not going to play that on the money line, though. However, I will grab the 6.5 points and lock in the Tigers on Saturday afternoon. Now, if you want to bet on this game, we said it at the top, we'll say it again. DraftKings is the place to go. If you're in New Jersey, Indiana, West Virginia, and now in Pennsylvania, download DraftKings at crossingbroad.com/DK. They will match your first bet up to $200.